Donald Trump isn't dead yet, but he's getting close, and a new report should have even the most diehard MAGA nutbags concerned over who is actually driving this train. Buckle up, viewers. It's much worse than we thought, and it's all in plain sight. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. It seems a week can't go by without Donald Trump raising the alarm about his health. You'd think someone in the White House would actually do something about it, right? First, of course, is the assertion that Trump has chronic venous insufficiency.
Photos of the president's swollen ankles and bruised hands have gained a lot of attention on social media. Now the White House says he has chronic venous insufficiency, a condition where veins have trouble moving blood back to the heart. ABC News medical contributor Dr. Lok Patel is here with more on this. So, Dr. Patel, obviously you don't treat the president, but can you just explain more about what chronic venous insufficiency is and what the symptoms are?
Absolutely, Diane. Chronic venous insufficiency is actually a benign and very common condition, especially in individuals above the age of 50, in which there is some difficulty with the veins in pumping blood back to the heart. So some of it tends to pool down in the legs, causing symptoms such as swelling, fullness, or even discomfort or pain. And for some reason, this can happen in certain individuals because of family history. But as I mentioned, there's other conditions such as age, obesity, and pregnancy as well that can actually lead to this symptom.
And that's just the beginning. Stay tuned. Notice how Dr. Patel adds the caveat that chronic venous insufficiency can be caused by other underlying conditions. If you watch our channel, and you should subscribe if you haven't, if you're a frequent viewer, you know that I've long suggested and continue to maintain that Trump's symptoms, his shortness of breath, his trouble walking, his bruised hands, and a neck that looks like something I saw in a strip club, use your imaginations on that point, you know it all suggests that Trump is actually suffering from congestive heart failure, which would account for all of his symptoms. Patients diagnosed with the disease seldom live longer than 5 years, for the record. And of course, that's not even the end of Trump's health woes. There was his striking admission recently that he had an MRI at his second annual physical. First, someone tell the man, and the White House Communications Office for that matter, that we're not stupid. Nobody has 2 annual physicals just 4 months apart because annual means it only happens once a year. Look, can we just roll the clip?
Results. We had an MRI and in the machine, the whole thing, yeah. And it was perfect. Yeah.
Did you say what in particular?
You could ask the doctors. In fact, we have doctors traveling with us, but I think they gave you a very conclusive. Nobody has ever given you reports like I gave you. And if I didn't think it was going to be good, either I would let you know negatively, I wouldn't run, I'd do something, but the doctor said some of the best reports for the age, some of the best reports they've ever seen.
You know, I see people on the internet claiming we're all living in some kind of simulation. I don't think that's true, though sometimes I do have to wonder if we're all living in one very bad episode of The Gong Show, or maybe Sábado Gigante. And if you don't know what those are, wiki them, trust me. For the record, MRIs are only given to patients, generally speaking, who show symptoms of some kind of neurological event, like a stroke. That would explain his droopy face photographed in early September. Yeah, that. A stroke would also explain Trump's recent memory lapses, confusion, or falling asleep in an Oval Office meeting last week, which does raise one major question. If Trump is asleep at the Resolute desk, quite literally, who is driving this ship? If you watch our show, you know that I've made 2 key suggestions in the past. And now, it looks like a new report has confirmed one of my theories. The Daily Beast now reports that Trump's dozing in the Oval Office and the lack of reaction to it by his top aides suggests that this is a frequent occurrence. The same article also quotes former Biden advisor Simone Sanders Townsend, noting that when Trump signs executive orders, he frequently needs them explained to him, which, again, suggests he's not involved in policy decisions, or at the very least, has severe trouble with his memory. Sanders Townsend further notes that a particular advisor may have also inadvertently tipped his hand, saying, quote, "When I, Sanders Townsend, worked at the White House, It is not I or we. It is the president and the vice president. And so if we're using I statements, are you the one making the decision, Stephen Miller, about these strike force teams in the Caribbean? How much aware is the president of what's going on? Closed quote. Yes, folks, that's right. Spectrum Nazi Stephen Miller appears to be the driving force behind the Trump administration, which would explain a lot. Bombing boats in the Caribbean, mass deportations, concentration camps, attempts to end birthright citizenship, deploying the military as anti-crime forces to U.S. cities, the deification of right-wing blowhard Charlie Kirk after his death, and the list goes on and on. It's clear Miller is responsible for most domestic policy, unless, of course, it has to do with economics, in which case architect of Project 2025 and the head of the White House Office of Budget and Management, Russell Vought, is the one calling the shots. But does Trump even know that? Does he care? Or do Miller, Vought, and their fellow ghouls just keep passing Trump Big Macs and sitting him down to watch Fox News with his TV tray? Or is he just like the catatonic grandpa in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at this point, grunting while the others wreak havoc? Regardless, we're living through the American Chainsaw Massacre, watching a lunatic saw up our country piece by piece. Personally, I'd rather see Leatherface in the Oval Office. He's much better looking than Stephen Miller, for one thing. This is Occupy Democrats.